Imagine a child telling you, "Daddy chopped off mommy's head." Would you believe them? If a police officer heard those words, how would they react? In 1988, a 5-year-old's innocent utterance sparked a media frenzy in a shocking murder investigation that captivated all of Northwood City. Overnight, phrases like dismembered wife and chilling words of a child dominated every corner of the city. On October 5, 1988, a middle-aged woman rushed into the Northwood City Police Department, her face pale with worry. "Officer, my daughter's been murdered," she cried. The woman, Susan Myers, claimed her daughter, Wendy Rogers, had been killed. Through tears, Susan insisted she knew the killer's identity and even had a piece of evidence, a chilling audio recording. The police, recognizing the gravity of the situation, immediately listened to the tape in the squad room. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next chilling stories. Now let's dive into the case, the chilling testimony. That night, Daddy took Mommy's head off, and now I can't see her anymore. Daddy took off her legs too. He put the stuff from her tummy into lots of little black bags. Daddy told us we have to say that Mommy went away with another man. The recording was the innocent voice of a child, but the words stunned every officer in the room. They realized this could be a horrific case of spousal murder and dismemberment. The 1980s were a period of rising crime rates in the U.S. Homicides and robberies were common, but successful prosecutions were few, and police credibility was low. Faced with such a high-profile case, they were determined to get up to the bottom of it and restore public trust. Based on Susan Myers' fragmented account and the child's recording, a terrifying truth began to emerge. On July 12, 1988, David Rogers, Wendy's husband, had returned home after 6 months at sea. At 24 years old, he was a sailor and the father of a 5-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. He chose this long-distance job for the steady income it provided his family. To celebrate his safe return, Susan, who had never liked him, invited the family of 4 over for a reunion dinner. David agreed immediately, grateful that his mother-in-law had looked after his wife and kids while he was away. However, on July 13th, he arrived at Susan's house alone. When asked why, he said Wendy was busy at home taking care of the kids. Susan found this odd and called her daughter, who gave the exact same answer. A mother's desperate search, Susan felt uneasy and couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A few days later, her anxiety grew. On July 15th, Wendy called her mother to borrow $2,000, and from that day on, she vanished. All of Susan's information about her daughter came from her son-in-law. On July 16th, David informed Susan that the family had moved out of their apartment on Troubled Road to a new place. The new phone hadn't been installed yet, so he told her not to worry. But his words only deepened her suspicion. Susan waited 2 months with no news from her daughter. When she finally called David, he told her bluntly, "Wendy and I had a fight, and she left. I've already filed a missing person report." The news that Wendy had left home sent Susan into a panic. On October 4th, she made up an excuse to see her grandchildren, preparing a meal and inviting David and the kids over. During dinner, David was constantly on his phone. Seizing the opportunity, Susan asked her 5-year-old grandson, "Where's your mommy?" "Daddy chopped her head off," and the child's innocent voice replied. Susan froze. After 2 months of nagging doubt, she finally had confirmation that her daughter was in trouble. To be sure, she went to David's new home the next day, October 5th, and questioned the 2 children again. This time, their account was more specific and horrifying, the very words from the audio recording that began the investigation. The frenzy and the flaws. On October 5th, the police arrested David Rogers while he was picking up his children from kindergarten. He struggled violently, drawing the attention of many onlookers. In the interrogation room, his weathered face, tanned from the sea air, showed clear signs of panic. "It wasn't me. I didn't kill anyone," he screamed. "Wendy isn't dead. She wants a divorce. Why would I kill her?" The police played the children's recording, David's face twisted in agony. "This is a setup," he yelled, insisting he hadn't seen his wife since July 15th. Outside, however, public opinion had already turned. The key words dismembered wife, chopped body, and chilling words of a child spread like wildfire. The media unanimously painted David as a monstrous husband who had murdered his wife. Overnight, he was labeled a monster, facing a torrent of public anger. His mother-in-law, Susan, tearfully recounted the son-in-law's cruelty everywhere she went. A tenant who moved into their old apartment even claimed to have a haunting dream. "I dreamed of a headless woman in a red dress covered in blood," she said. "She just stared at me. I know she was murdered. Who else could have done it but her husband?" The tenant also said that when she moved in, she found a plastic-wrapped, putrid bag of meat full of maggots in the refrigerator. The bag had since been thrown out, so there was no evidence. Rumors flew that the bag of meat was Wendy's dismembered body. Public sympathy for her grew, and people even set up a memorial altar on the street outside their old home. However, the investigation hit a wall. No matter how the police questioned him, David insisted he was innocent. He adamantly claimed his mother-in-law had always hated him and was deliberately setting him up. The police, of course, didn't buy it, but David's alibi seemed to hold up. He said he had been working as an electrician and a part-time taxi driver since his return. A shocking twist of fate. Still, to the police, David was full of red flags. He claimed Wendy worked at an electronics factory, but an investigation revealed she had never worked there. She was an employee at a local spa. Why wouldn't a husband know where his wife worked? The couple's sudden move also raised suspicion. They had lived in their old apartment for years, but moved just 3 days after he returned. Was he trying to hide something? With these questions in mind, police and forensics searched both the old and new apartments. But to their disappointment, they found no blood, no murder weapon, and no sign of a crime scene. This meant that if Wendy had been killed, it hadn't happened in their home. Without a body or physical evidence, they couldn't charge David. The police shifted their focus to possible burial sites. This new lead brought a dramatic twist from the children's testimony. When questioned again about their father's actions, the children described the burial process in detail. "In the morning, Daddy drove us in his taxi to the park near the horse track. He locked us in the car. Through the window, we saw him dig a big hole and bury Mommy there." The police were thrilled, believing the truth was within their grasp. But after hours of digging, they found nothing. Not a body, not a bone, not even a single strand of hair. The high-profile search, based on the words of 2 children, severely damaged the police's credibility. Public outrage soared, and people began to question the children's testimony. The case fell into a stalemate. David continued to claim innocence, while the children's words remained unverified. Then, a few key witnesses emerged. A friend of Wendy's came forward, stating she had seen Wendy in August. More people followed, with 5 witnesses confirming they had seen her in August and September. Just as the media was reporting this, a woman claiming to be Wendy called the police, saying she was alive but couldn't come forward. When police asked her to verify her identity, she hung up, leading them to believe it was a cruel prank. During a court hearing, a district attorney subtly separated Susan from the children and gently asked them, "Did Daddy kill Mommy?" The children replied, "I don't know." The DA, holding his breath, asked, "Did someone tell you to say that?" After a moment of silence, the 4-year-old girl slowly nodded. The person who had coached them was their grandmother, Susan Myers. Psychological experts concluded that children have vivid imaginations and can be easily led. With the children's testimony now invalid, all the previous evidence against David was useless. With no body, no crime scene, and no weapon, David was released after 8 days in jail. As he left the precinct, he told the police, "I knew my mother-in-law was setting me up." This isn't the first time. 2 years ago, when Wendy left for a month, she accused me of killing her then too. The reality of rumors, the case of the dismembered wife turned into a simple missing person case. As for Susan, she claims she was tricked by her own grandchildren. The case was suspended. Wendy Rogers remained a missing person, alive to no one, dead to no one, until 3 years later. They say a lie can travel halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put its shoes on. David's reputation was destroyed. After his release, the verbal abuse never stopped. Many people still believed he was a murderer. Then, his daughter was hospitalized after a car accident. Reporters who had followed the case for years saw an opportunity. They reasoned that a mother would rush to her child's bedside. They staked out the hospital, waiting for Wendy to show up. But even after their daughter was released, Wendy never appeared. Everyone began to believe she must truly be dead. But Susan Myers, despite her questionable actions, never gave up on her daughter. For 3 years, she searched relentlessly, even resorting to mediums and psychics, claiming her daughter was haunting her. Then, in May 1993, a young woman in Pacific Bluffs went to the police station to get residency papers for her child. The 3 words Wendy Rogers on the registry stunned everyone. She was the very woman everyone had been searching for. When questioned, ashamed, Wendy confessed that she had run away with her lover. She admitted that she had become lonely while her husband was away and began working at a spa. There she met a man named Mr. Davis and fell in love. When David returned, she felt her children would be well cared for, so she borrowed money from her mother and fled with her lover. After the public frenzy, she had considered coming forward, but was too selfish and afraid to reveal her past to Mr. Davis, to whom she had lied about her identity and family. She only revealed herself because her child with him needed legal documents for school. The case exposed a profound crisis of trust. Society's unquestioning belief in children's innocence had turned their words into an absolute truth, leading to a legal and social farce that lasted 5 years. This case, like the plot of the Danish film The Hunt, shows how a child's lie, amplified by a panicked public, can destroy an innocent man's life. David Rogers, though legally innocent, was socially condemned for the rest of his life. He lost his reputation and his faith in justice. In the end, the real culprits were not David or even Wendy, but a string of failures by adults. Susan's desperate love became an obsession that coached her grandchildren. The police let emotion and public pressure overshadow hard evidence. The media, instead of staying objective, sensationalized a missing person case into a social tragedy. The true victim was David Rogers. And the greatest tragedy of the case is that an innocent man was tried and sentenced not by a court of law, but by public opinion, proving that a lie amplified by trust and sensationalism can be a dagger that kills a life.